Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. Huzzah, huzzah. Oilers won a playoff series.
Never in doubt.
Yeah, I forgot to tweet that. Damn
Yeah,
it.
you forgot to tweet that. I actually
Little
thought the
late
Oilers were
now,
going to
isn't it?
win tonight, and I thought Skinner was going to have a good game. And they kind of, well, the one thing happened for sure, and the other one kind of happened, except for one miscue, which I guess we can talk about it now, Bruce, because it's neither of our good things or bad things, it turns out.
Mhm.
Skinner makes a turnover halfway through the third period, and King Oilers are on a power play, and he muffs the pass to Evan
Oh,
Bouchard. And initially, I'm thinking,
right
okay,
to the goal scorer,
who's in
five
net?
feet in front of the net.
Yeah, who's in net? Steve Smith. I had some bad feelings about Skinner, but after the game, it
Not even
became
Mike
clear.
Smith.
Yeah, Mike Smith. It was more like Mike Smith actually than Steve Smith. It's a Smith. Kelly Harudi of Hockey Night in Canada reported something that had been kind of widely reported by, I think, Oilers fans on the internet,
Mhm,
including your son noticed it,
mhm.
that Skinner's stick was broken. And it clearly was. You watch the video replay, he goes to pass it, and his stick just bends right over the puck.
Mhm.
And it's a really, that is like atrocious luck. But it put a different spin on the mistake, especially after they won, of course. Um, if they had lost, I'd still be sour about it. But that turned out it's a tough play with a broken stick. These things happen. As turnovers also happen, but with a turnover, it's man, it's a little bit of a risky play passing it like that across your net anyway. If you're going to make that pass, you have to make it. So if his stick wasn't broken, it would have actually been pretty atrocious error, but it was. So
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin Woodley, the goalie expert on the Jason Greger show every Monday.
oh yeah,
He says everyone ripping on Skinner, but his stick broke trying to make that pass, was clearly compromised before, but in a spot you wouldn't expect, sort of halfway through the taped part of the blade. And Woodley included a photograph of the stick, which I just retweeted. So if
yeah.
somehow you missed it, look on my timeline and you'll see that just a still. I'm sure there's videos out there too. I'm
There
sure.
is a full video. Just if you've taped the game, games maybe other people don't.
Four
Bruce,
to
this is
three
our
in an elimination game in the third period on the power
yeah.
play, and that happens.
I
Oh.
thought the Oilers were going to win this game. I thought they were the better team tonight, even though like they were outshot. The grade A shots in the game were 15 for Edmonton, 17 for LA, and seven 5 alarm shots each. But I think there were some score effects in there, with the Oilers leading the game most of the way and the Kings fighting to come back. I thought the Oilers. I wasn't that impressed with them giving up the lead the way
Three
they did.
times.
Yeah, but I thought they were the better team, and they were the better team in this series. It's a fitting end of the series. We're going to go with our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Because it's a big Oilers win, we'll go with two good things each. Bruce, your first good thing.
Yeah, I'm going to. I've been talking and writing about this for much of the series, so I'm going to go with these guys again. I'm going to go with them as an entry, and that is the fourth line wingers, who in this game were Klim Kostin and Kyler Yamamoto. Started the game on fourth line with no particular center, and they cycled through the centers. And while they were busy cycling through the centers, Costin scored 2 goals and 1 assist, and Yamamoto scored 1 goal and 1 assist. And Costin played. He played just 8 minutes and 44 seconds in this game, but he had 2 shots, 2 hits, 2 goals, 1 assist, +3. And his 2 goals were both on wicked shots from the slot. Costin, man, did he bury those shots? And the one was just sort of a quick opportunity, a quick release where the puck I think came from. Uh, yeah, he just let it fly from. Uh, uh, oh, sorry. The first one was the long
When he
rush
cuts
where
in
he
the
made,
middle,
where he
yeah,
cut into the middle. Yeah,
Ryan,
Vincent
Venus,
DeHarnay passed it out. McLeod got it up to him, and he cruised in and he cut into the middle and let the screen form. and then fired a perfect shot through the screen just inside the post with a rocket exhaust coming off it. Like it's a wicked wrist shot, really hard shot. Picked the corner. And Corpusalo never saw that one. That was just a great shot. And the second one happened a little bit more quickly. And this was again Vincent Desharnais, playmaker, involved on this one. And uh, the puck came back to the point after some Oilers pressure. And Desharnais made a quick pass into the low slot to Yamamoto. And did he tip it on goal, David? And then they
Yes, there
sort of
was a
were
tip.
fighting for the rebound, and Yamamoto was bunting at it, and Costin just came in, wham, in the net again.
Yeah.
So, uh, and then of course in the third period after LA had tied at 4-4, and as the game looked to be inevitably headed for overtime, the other fourth line winger, currently identified as Kyler Yamamoto, scored the game-winning, series-winning goal on something less of a rocket of a shot than uh, Klim Kostin's were. So I would say if Klim Kostin was Tom Seaver, then Kyler Yamamoto is Phil Necro. I'll say Phil Necro or Wilbur Wood. He just sort of floated in
Yeah.
this knuckleball, and poor Corpusalo couldn't find it until it fluttered by him. He just made a desperation lunge at the last moment. But again, the key to it was the traffic. And whether it's a bullet shot like Costin's or a wobbly knuckleballer like Yamamoto, if you get the darn thing away and on the net and you have traffic, it has a chance. It doesn't have to be a bullet. It just has to be a stealth, hard to find puck for the goalie. And those goals were, and that was from the fourth line doing its work. And just let me see now. The center on that last one was McLeod. The center on Costin's first one was McDavid, but he didn't get a point. And then the center
Draisaitl. It was
on
Leon.
Costin's second goal was Leon, and he was involved in the play, but I think he was the fourth, sort of the third assist on that play. But he did have something to say in the whole sequence of that play. So three different centers on the three goals, playing with Costin, and that's Jay Woodcroft's secret sauce, man. You just got those two good wingers, and you just fill in the center spot with different guys, and you create different problem sets for LA each time. And that fourth line, the goals won 2 games for Edmonton, game 2 and game 6.
I used the same secret sauce headline today. I was referring to what I refer to
Uh-huh.
as the Baco bid players. All the
Yeah,
players that
yeah.
played for Bakersfield, who
Uh-huh.
started out as bid players on the Oilers and have worked their way up. Yamamoto's now worked his way down to being a bid player again, but that was a
Was
heck of a
was
play.
Klim Kostin on your list, or he didn't quite play
He
25
didn't
games
play.
in Bakersfield? He played a
No.
few games down there, and he
Yeah,
did
no.
all right.
It was 25 was he had to play
Yeah, he
25.
did. Yeah, he played a few games. He needed visa issues. He had,
Yeah.
and but
Total eclipse of the sun screen by Costin on the winning goal. It was a
uh-huh,
fantastic
uh-huh,
screen by Clean Costin. And it's funny, my wife, who's a smaller, she plays on my men's team. She's one of the
right.
smaller players on the team. And her spirit Oiler. If you play beer league hockey, everyone has a kind of an Oiler player who most
Mm-hmm.
resembles them on their team.
All right.
So her
Okay.
spirit Oiler is Cutter Yamamoto, and she cheers for him. It's been a
Uh-huh.
pretty rough going for Cutter Yamamoto fans. There's been a lot
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
criticism, including from, I'm not going to name his name, but my brother-in-law has been calling Yamamoto a Smurf and
Mm-hmm.
saying he's not been playing well. So my wife
Right.
took a screenshot of a smiling Yamamoto and said, "Smurf says suck it," and sent it to my brother-in-law tonight. Lots of happy Connor Yamamoto fans tonight,
Yeah.
and
Well,
he
I'm
has been
one.
struggling.
He's got a
He,
lot of fans, and we've been frustrated, and he's been frustrated with how things have been going for him. But to come through with the big goal at such a time, David, if you don't think Kyle Yamamoto is a popular Oiler, watch the replay of the reaction to the goal and then watch the replay at the final buzzer when he comes off the bench. He is mobbed by his teammates. They single him out. They're going for him. They're just thrilled for him, and that's really nice to see because sometimes a guy gets into a slump and he winds up on some kind of an island. And I like a team that has each other's backs, and sometimes that means getting even with some opponent that's done some dastardly deed, and other times it just is supporting them when they're going through a tough stretch and being there for them. But what a delight to see his first goal of the series be the decider. So anyway, good for both those guys. I say I'm gonna bunch them together as fourth line wingers and 3 goals out of the 5 that they scored tonight after getting 2 goals in game 2. So
Yeah, Yamamoto seems to have found a niche there. Like, and
he's got the skill set for it.
Costin's a good mix for him, right? Because Costin is, listen, it really does help to be big in the playoffs. If if you can play with some skill. Look at the way Draisaitl has bossed the playoffs. And Costin's done the same thing. They just can't. They don't really have an answer for that guy with his size, aggression, speed, and shot. Like he's an inconsistent player. We saw that in the regular season, but he sure brought it against LA. Bruce, and that segues for me to Draisaitl, who I thought maybe had his best game as an Edmonton Oiler in like all told, all aspects of the game. When you add up everything. Like everything he did well. Especially if you totaled up battles won. I don't know if Leon lost a battle all game long. That's how good he was. He was so zeroed in, so determined to win this hockey game. I mean, he was even covering in the defensive slot when Connor McDavid slipped out of it. So he was there. He was here. He was there. He was every effing where. He just played a fantastic hockey game. And, a couple of highlights, of course, he got off his, on the power play, he gets off the executioner shot, which is just a thing of beauty. It's the trademark play of this Edmonton Oilers squad. I've said this before, but when you and I are already old and gray, but if you're young watching this team, 50, 60 years from now, you probably won't remember much unless you have a memory like Bruce, but you will remember McDavid setting up Draisaitl on goals like you saw tonight. And just such a fantastic pass by McDavid. He didn't even look. It was a no-look pass. And because he was looking at net, he's looking at Costin, and he wanted to fake out Costin. Maybe he took a peek at the end, I'm not sure, but to me it looked like no look completely. Just threw it right over there and bam, right in the net. It is. We are so lucky as Oilers fans to be able to have these two players on our team, and be able to watch them execute plays like that again and again and again. But it wasn't his only great play. He was in, as you mentioned, on the Costin goal, and he actually made a really key play. The puck came to him on the boards, and bam, as Leon so often does it, right off his stick, right onto the tape of the point man, Desharnais, for the shot. Vinny was struggling with the puck all night and made a turnover on one of the goals against. Lost the puck in the neutral zone. You got to get in the puck quick.
One, but yeah.
Yeah, he screened the goalie on another one, and he had a tough night. But you want Vinny to get a shot towards net, get him the puck fast, and that's exactly what Leon did. Right on his stick, bam, then right on the net, and Kailer Yamamoto tips it on net, and Costin puts it in. So that's a great play, another great play by Leon. Early in the third period, he and McDavid they both kind of make these incredible, intricate dekes moves in the offensive zone. First, McDavid getting the puck to Draisaitl down low, and then Draisaitl spinning towards the net and getting a shot on net that almost trickles in over the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, as the game's winding down, he makes a couple key clearances, including one right in the last minute. His defensive play, Bruce, was extraordinary. It was
exceptional defensive game he played tonight. Yep, 100%.
He only got the 1 point, so it's unusual to give a player a 10 for that. But I would give Leon a 10 tonight. And I think people who listen to this podcast understand that I criticize him quite a bit for his defensive
Mm-hmm.
play. Heard me rail on
Mm-hmm.
about that quite a bit. You know this. It's not so. It's not like I'm dry settle all the time. I point out his mistakes when he makes them. He did not make any mistakes. I
No,
don't think.
I was going to ask you, but I was expecting you to
No,
say none.
not
Like,
one not one mistake on a grade A shot against. It was a perfect game from Leon, a perfect two-way hockey game, including some good offensive plays. So where he's contributing to two goals. So anyway, Leon's my first good thing.
yeah,
Bruce,
he had a wonderful game, and his as you say, he won so many battles, and many of them deep in his own territory. He had a
yeah,
stick in the passing lanes, but he was getting right in, engaging guys, lifting their stick, getting his own big paddle on the loose pucks, and chipping it out to good plays. And of the three guys on his line, he was by far the most protective of the puck,
yeah,
and he played a strong defensive game for sure, and offensively, well, another hammer of a shot, and he played 27 minutes and 21 seconds in this game, Leon Draisaitl.
led the
Uh,
team, eh?
yeah, led all the defensemen and forwards. McDavid was 5 seconds behind him, mind you, but the idea being, if you win the game, these guys now get a couple days off. Like, I don't think they'll be playing until probably Wednesday to
Oh, is that
start the
right?
series.
Okay.
Well, Game 7 would have been Monday, and there's no way they would have wanted to start it on Tuesday. And I doubt that they would move it up to Tuesday, but that'd be the earliest possible, because there's going to be Games 7 played on Monday, I think. Wait a minute, I don't actually know who won the third game tonight. Toronto ended their series. I do know that. And yeah. So who won the other game?
Guess they'll be heading to Vegas. Eh? They're already down there, so
Yeah,
they'll just
it's
stay in the
Vegas. Yeah,
States,
it's
maybe.
definitely Vegas.
Yeah.
Depends. If it's not till Wednesday, they'll probably come home. Like, it's
Yeah.
not exactly.
Some results. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Rangers beat New Jersey, so there will be a Game 7 of that series on Monday in New Jersey.
Do they
So
wait till they're all done?
yeah, I don't think they'll start round two. I mean, they've got games Sunday and Monday, so they might as well focus on those games. The NBA does that stuff, but the NHL, they always have kept the rounds distinct by date.
So
So
the top scorer isn't Draisaitl right now. He's tied for
nope.
second with Marner. It's Rupe Hintz
Yeah,
from Dallas. Where's he from? Is he
Finland,
Finnish?
Finland.
He's
He
another
was
Draisaitl like player, isn't he? Like,
he was on the same Finnish super team that won the gold medal in 2016, where Puljärvi was the MVP, but they also had Sebastian Aho, Patrick Laine, Mikko Rantanen, and Rupi Hintz, just to name five. And they also had the guy in Pittsburgh that was a hot shot junior. He played for Toronto for a while. His dad was a player.
Carp Kapanen?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was on their forward core as all. They were just loaded with big talented guys. I mean, those are most of the guys I named are high end forwards, big
Oh,
money high end
one
forwards.
one final note about Yamamoto is Kevin Bieksa pointed out he survived a suicide pass from Cody Ceci in this game.
Oh,
He just got like it was just a terrible pass from
yeah.
Ceci. Like you could see that coming.
Hmm.
And Anderson's, I'm glad we don't have to face
Anderson saw
Mikey.
it coming.
Yeah, he sure did. And then he hit Ceci. All right, Bruce, what's your second good thing?
Yeah, I'm. Now that I did both my good things in the first comment, I'm actually going to single out the coaching staff of Jay Woodcroft, Dave Manson, and Glenn Gulitson, and the others, Mark Stewart. But obviously, the chief cook and bottle washer is Jay Woodcroft. And I just was impressed with the adjustments that he made as the series went along, and the ways that he uh, uh, was able to counter what LA was doing. And a key, of course, moment was in Game 4 when he made the move on changing his goaltender, which you might say was an obvious move, but it was a big one that paid off. I really love the 11-7, which the Oilers won 4 out of 5 games playing the 11-7, and they lost the one game playing the 12-6 when they lost Janmark. And just the way he weaponizes that, and how that fourth line, as already discussed, was loaded up, where you would have 2 fourth liners and a superstar against 3 fourth liners. And one thing that he took to doing a lot of was he, even though he had 2 extra forwards and 1 extra defenseman in Broberg, he lined them up together. So in most of the games, in the first big chunk of this game, whenever the 2 fourth line wingers were on the ice, Broberg was also on the ice. But you'd wind up with something like this: Costin, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto with Broberg and Ekholm, right?
Not
Or
bad.
then you'd get Costin, McDavid, and Yamamoto with Broberg and Nurse, and usually playing against the bottom end of the other team. So Oilers tended to carry those parts of the game. And in fact, I mean, the best measuring stick for that would be those wingers. And
Or
Klim
plus
Kostin
minus.
was 16-6 in shot attempts tonight. And Mario Yamamoto was 14-9 in shot attempts tonight. And so even though they were fourth liners, and they had some very good shifts anyway. So I like the way he used his seventh defenseman. Uh, I don't agree with it, like every single decision he made, but I did like the adaptation of moving Yamamoto out from line 2 and putting the much bigger guy in there, Nick Bukestad, which really helped them win Game 5. Didn't help them a whole lot tonight, and we'll get to that in a bit, but that helped. And I just like the malleable roster of guys that can play different positions, and the coach that's able to, Scotty Bowman them around the lineup and get them out in situational situations that are favorable to him. And one other thing he did that I think was similar to last year's series for the same but opposite reason. Let me explain. Was last year after Leon Draisaitl hurt his ankle in game number 6, and he was sort of limping around on one leg, really struggling to play. He was a doubtful starter for Game 7, and he toughed it out. And at that point, he moved Draisaitl with McDavid. Said, "Well, you're not going to be, don't have to skate as much. You can let the puck do the work. You guys know each other real well." And of course, we know what happened after that. They just poured in the goals and points. Well, this series, it was McDavid who got banged up in Game 3 on the big hit by Drew Doughty. Everybody seems to agree, and McDavid's skating was really down a couple of notches in the last few games. Like the quick spin off where he slams on the brakes and comes out the other way, the crossovers, and the 17th gear or whatever it is that he uses to blow by a defenseman when he's even on with them on a race, and all of a sudden he just can pull around in front of him. All of that was kind of not really in evidence these last 3 games. So what he did this year was he put McDavid with Draisaitl. And so again, David had the support because he was not, I don't think, near the top of his game,
I
and
didn't
yet
really
they
notice
were an
it as
effective
much.
line. Anyway, that's my takeaway, and that I think it was a response to an injury to one of them in each year. Last year it was Dry who got hurt. This year it was McD who got banged up, and we can only hope that a few days off and whatever it is that's ailing him is going to heal up some. But I just didn't see his elite level skating that we're accustomed to as being quite such a dominant factor. And many of us saw the clip released from Oilers practice yesterday by a reporter who shall remain nameless, who was only reporting and doing his job, and he took a lot of crap for that. But anyway,
It
McDavid.
was Ryan Rashog, and it was no big deal.
It
Come on,
was, yeah,
like
I agree. I
this is
agree. He
ridiculous.
was doing his
And
job.
he was, and listen, it's just like the Kings know.
Yeah, of
the
course
Kings
they
are
know.
watching these players. They know who's going
Uh-huh.
fast. Honestly, Bruce, I didn't notice as much with McDavid skating.
Yeah, well, good.
I wasn't standing out to me that because I was looking for it a little bit. He was making some pretty fast moves
He's
on
still
his.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Like
there,
he's
maybe there was a
down
little bit of
and
explosiveness. I'll give you that. Maybe you're onto something. I didn't notice it in particular. I have to admit that, but it was a good move in any case. Woodcroft's
mhm,
move. It like joining those two players together. Maybe he
yeah,
just wanted more oomph from him. He got it. So
yeah. Yeah, he did. Anyway, he pulled a lot of strings over the course of the series, Woodcroft, and he was responding at first to 1-0 and 2-1 series deficits. And by the end, the Oilers won the last three in a row to seal the deal, and coaching was a part of it. And I think he and they deserve credit. I mean, Glenn Goulitson in his 9 for 16 power play.
wow. And they were talking in the intermission that Goodletson might have done a little bit different setup for Dreisaitl's one timer on the play.
Hmm.
When as soon as McDavid got it and he starts circling into the middle, he put it right back to Draisaitl immediately instead of taking it around the horn and
Right.
then passing it. He puts it to Draisaitl. Draisaitl put it to Bouchard, and then Bouchard goes cross seam to McDavid, and then McDavid looks for Draisaitl. And it was a
Hmm.
little bit that was a twist. I think
A little
I think
misdirection play, eh?
yeah, and it worked for
Sure
him very
did.
well. So that might have been they credited Gulitson on the broadcast, and maybe
Oh,
they
did they? Okay, good, good.
yeah. So that's
So
why I'm bringing
he
that up.
tends to get overlooked because of Manson and Woodcroft are seen as a tandem, but Oilers power play has been good for a long time, and Glenn Gudelson's been in charge of it.
Yeah, the Kings power play was pretty good tonight too.
Yes, all series.
Yeah,
All series, 9 goals to 7 in a 6-game
yeah,
series, 16
yeah,
power play goals. So,
yeah. Okay, my second good thing, Bruce, is Darnell Nurse, and I thought he was outstanding. I'd give him an 8 or a 9 in this game, probably a 9. Um, that's as well as he's played maybe all year. He made like earlier, and again, I'll set this up with people who listen to this podcast know that earlier this series, I made him a bad thing, and just spent much of the podcast ripping him for his bad decision making, trying to do too much out there, making bad reads, constantly getting sucked out of the defensive slot, not playing his position, playing rover, as you put it. Tonight he played his position, and did he ever play it well? He is when he reins in that game a bit, he is outstanding in his own end. He was just so quick to the puck. I just remember one play in the first period where he went into the slot and clamped down on Kempe, who was about to get a
hmm
dangerous pass. That was Nurse all game long. That was his play. He was brilliantly fast. He got a couple offensive chances. One right at the end of the first period, I believe, when Drew Doughty made a miraculous skate save. I
oh,
think Nurse was. Let me just go back to our scoring chance chart. It was McDavid who set him up, and I guess Costin won. I think Costin won the puck back in the neutral zone. They get it in. McDavid circles and passes to Nurse, cross seam to Nurse, and how Nurse, how Doughty got his skate on that. Well, it was a hell of a play, and Nurse almost scored there. And then on the winning goal, Bruce,
hmm
I don't know if I really love this. I was thinking this is one moment where I'm thinking, why are you rushing it? Just dump it in, But Darnell rushed it in, and he got in.
yeah.
He charged hard in there, and he set up Costin for a really good shot. Costin missed the net on it, but the Oilers
hmm
kept the puck in the end the whole time based on Nurse's incredible zone entry. The Kings
Right.
never recovered from Nurse's rush up the ice. They were always on their back heel after that,
hmm
and the puck gets moved around, and Yamamoto puts it in the net. That was a fantastic offensive foray from Nurse.
It
So
was end to end.
yeah, end rush. And a great move at the blue line.
Yes.
So he was so sharp in tonight's game. I just and I have a lot of admiration for him. He has taken a ton of criticism from people like you and I, and then there's other fans who give him abuse. Is the truth,
Yes.
and he's getting a lot of heat, which I think is like if you're a fan of the team, I think critique of a player's play is perfectly online.
Mhm.
That's when you start to make personal comments about the players, about who they are, what they're like, what their character is. I just think or these all-encompassing statements like nurse is, I just think like get a grip. Don't be that fan. Just because you look here, and here's why you don't want to be that fan. Because you look stupid. Because people who know hockey think you're stupid. You can't even make an argument. You can't say, okay, here's what he did wrong. Then there's a conversation
Well,
about what he did wrong. But if you're just going to make that kind of comment, you come off as stupid. And if you want to look that way, keep making those comments because that's how you look.
well, I'd frame it slightly differently, but I'd say you have your right to say what you think he did wrong, but you really earn that right if you're also willing to say what he did right at other times.
Yeah.
And there are those that just focus on the mistakes as if that's all he ever does. And when he does a right play, they just say nothing because that's what he's expected to do, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, he does lots of both. And he's always been a high event player, and there's been lots of other high event players in this league over the years that have been pretty good players, even though all their events aren't successful ones. And anyway, he was. I remember that play against Kempe tonight. Kempe just couldn't get around him. It was a great battle, like basically one-on-one battle for the better part of 10 seconds. And Nurse eventually won it by outstretching Kempe and chipping the puck around the boards, and the Oilers walked it out, is how I remember it. And Kempe was everywhere. Jeez, it seemed like he had like 25 shots on net, that guy. And officially he had 7, but boy, did he have a big time game. And the Oilers were hard pressed to stop him.
Yeah, well, we should talk a little about the Kings, our
Hmm.
impressions of the Kings at the end of
Sure.
this. Okay, I think we're on to bad things, Bruce. What is your bad thing?
Yeah, well, I have to go with Edmonton's second line. And I've been saying kind things about Nick Bukestad, but he had a little bit of a tougher time of it tonight. Just a little bit slower in his. I don't think his fast twitch fibers were firing tonight particularly well, but that whole line absolutely got their show run in this game. And I mean, here are maybe you can help out with the grade A shots against. There won't be any for, I don't think. This is just shots on goal. Nick Bukestad, 2 for 15 against. Zach Hyman, 1 for 13 against. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, 0 for 12 against. Nuge played 11 minutes at even strength in this game, and the Oilers got outshot 12-0. They miraculously they sawed off. At least they
They
did at
did.
even strength.
They
They got
did
beat. I think
saw.
each of Bukestad and Nuge got beat for a power play goal, but at even strength they sawed off 0-0. But that was only because Skinner stopped all 15 of those shots because they weren't making anything happen at the other end, and mostly they were just playing chase. And not good enough. The third and fourth lines picked it up, and the first line was okay, and second line just had a pretty hard time of it, really, from start to finish.
Very disappointing, Bruce. And yeah, I wrote an article yesterday about how we need to see Ryan urgent Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to bring a little bit more intensity to his game, and I didn't see it tonight. Haven't didn't see it all series. He's good
Mm-hmm.
on the power play. He was okayish on the penalty kill. But no, at even strength, he just wasn't able to dig in and make plays. And Hyman, same thing, wasn't. And I did see Hyman limping towards the end of the game as he was skating.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is injured,
Mm-hmm.
and that often explains something.
Mm-hmm.
Bukestad, he's had his moments in this series. He's had some good
Yep.
games. So he tonight not necessarily as much, but yeah, this line together, it was the weakest of the 3 lines by quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as you did, it was a soft. I think they're mainly playing against the Kopitar line, if my memory serves. And I uh, I don't think Kopitar is the player that he was. He's slowed down considerably. and is unable to punish
Yeah.
teams as much for their mistakes as he has in the past. So that was part
Yeah.
of the reason they weren't scored on. But they were dominated, and they created not one grade A shot
Hmm.
between them, and they were on the ice. Their line was on for two grade A shots against, right and that was in the third period, both of those grade A shots. So not a good time to be letting them in, letting those kinds of things in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was Kempe, Kopitar, and Arvidsson, which is, it's a
That's a
hell
tough
of a
line.
trio.
So
And
maybe we're a little hard on, possibly a
well,
little hard
but
on
I
them.
mean, they just didn't even have the puck.
Yeah.
So obviously, this was a plan of Todd McClellan, saying if the Oilers are going to load up their first line, when we're going to attack their second line with our best,
Yeah.
and because Arvidsson and Kempe are their two best wingers, and I mean Kopitar and Dano are both great centers, but if I was obliged to pick one, it would be probably Kopitar still.
Kempe
So
is
that's basically their three. So
Kempe
I
is
mean,
such a fantastic
Victor
hockey.
Arvidsson head to head against Nuge in 8.5 minutes. The shots were 10-0 for the Kings.
Yeah.
10-0.
That was a really good trade for LA picking up Arvidsson. I think it was for a
Yeah,
second pick or something like that.
yeah. He was
Uh
a. I think he was a pending free agent, and they got him and signed him. They
maybe
just
that was
traded
it.
an asset to get him, and then they
Yeah,
signed him.
maybe that was it. Bruce, my bad thing is just one play. And it's from a player who had an otherwise okay game, maybe even a good game. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. But it was Cody Ceci, my spirit Oiler.
Hmm.
Um, Usually a good positional player who makes really good decisions on the ice. That's his forte. Not the fastest player or not any kind of offensive genius or anything like that at this point of his career. He's just a solid stay-at-home defenseman. That's how he plays it.
Hmm.
But the Oilers are nursing a 3-1 lead. It's 5 minutes into the second period. They've just scored on the power play. It's 3-1. And what does CC do? Just a really ill-advised pinch. He doesn't he's late to the pinch. It's not a 50-50 play. Like I understand you don't want to back off completely when you have a 3-1 lead. You have to keep playing the game.
Hmm.
So the rule should be like, well, if it's a 70-30 pinch, you're going to go
Yeah.
for it, or an 80-20 pinch, you go for it.
Or if
But
you
those
know the
50-50,
forward's got your back.
yeah, but those 50-50 ones, maybe lay off. But this wasn't even that. This was like a 20-80 pinch. This was he was late to the
Mm-hmm.
play,
Yeah.
and it leads to a 2-on-1 rush up the ice, leads to a grade A shot against, and it leads to Nick Bugstad taking a penalty, and they
Hmm.
scored on the ensuing power play, and then they scored again. So all like the real bad, the Oilers have that game in hand, and you make a pinch like that. Now he is a veteran player, and I just hated that play. It's the kind of play that the Oilers made throughout this series and giving up leads. It is harder to hold leads. These are
Yeah, definitely.
higher scoring NHL. So, but you don't want to give them away. You don't want to give the goals away, and you give up 2-on-1 rushes where people might take penalties. You're giving goals away, and it's like my other pet peeve is when the centers don't come back and help out in the defensive slot, cover the guy, which happened in the first period with McDavid right after he had scored. So defensive plays like that just they gnaw they gnaw at me, Bruce. I don't like to see them, so that's my bad thing.
Yeah, I'll add in the one sucker pass CC threw in the general direction of Connor Yamamoto that saw the little guy get absolutely smoked by Mikey Anderson because
Yeah.
he had to take the hit to make the play, and he did. So credit to him, but those kind of passes are not helpful.
Bruce, your numero.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to pick out of this series that Edmonton was struggling to score goals in the first part of the series. They lost 4-3 in overtime. They won 4-2 with an empty netter. They won. They lost 3-2 in overtime, and they were really struggling to break through. And then all of a sudden, somebody was saying they need to play fewer 4-3 and 3-2 games. They need to play some more 5-4 games. Well, they won game 4 5-4 in overtime. They won game 5 6-3. They won game 6, 5-4. And that's Oiler hockey. I mean, it's playoffs. You might say, well, it needs to be 2-1 for it to be playoff hockey. No, it doesn't. You just need to have more goals than the other guys. And the Oilers' forte all year has been scoring goals. And in the last 3 games, they got through to there's kids outside my house having a party.
There's
They
lots
got
of people celebrating in Edmonton right now,
yeah,
Bruce.
yeah, probably, yeah. And then there's and so they started to get to yeah, Eunice Corpusalo and drove him from the net 1 game and scored 5 goals on him in the other 2 games. And I just think their offensive game started to rise to the occasion and solve the Kings' defense and goaltending. And so they scored 9 goals, including an empty netter in the first half of the series, and 16 goals in the second half of the series. And that kind of tells the tale of how they were able to, you know, outscore their mistakes. It's the old thing we used to say about the Oilers 40 years ago, David. And here we are again, but they managed to get it done in just that fashion.
I think the only thing that changed, Bruce, honestly, well, it just might have been puck luck.
Maybe.
If you look at our numbers, and because this is my number, I'm going to go through our scoring chance
Hmm.
numbers for grade A
Right.
shots for the
Oh,
Oilers.
okay.
I just think they got better puck luck, and Corpusalo started to wear down, and he wasn't quite as sharp as the series went along. So it's two things: puck luck and the goalie wearing down and letting in a few goals that he was saving earlier in the series. Because okay, here's why I'm saying this. I will back up my argument with the cold, hard, subjective cult of hockey grade A scoring chance shots numbers. First game, 16 grade A shots. Second game, 16 grade A shots. Third game, 15 grade A shots. Fourth game, 17 grade A shots. Fifth game, 16 grade A shots, and sixth game, 15 grade A shots. So they averaged 15.8 grade A shots a game, and that's
Basically
what they
16
almost
every
had.
game.
They almost had 16 a game every
Yeah.
single game. So, and there's the subset of
Hmm.
the 5 alarm shots. In the first 2 games, they actually had the most. They had 9 5 alarm shots. They're 33 percenters on average in the first 2 games each, 9 and 9. And then they got 2 in game 3,
Yeah.
and then 8 7 and 7. So
Yeah.
there's not much to separate those either, except for the one anomaly in game 2. But the Oilers were just extremely consistent, being able to get grade A shots, really good shots.
Hmm.
They averaged 15.8 in the series. They averaged this year all year long 15 per game. So they raised their season average, and they did that against a really good Kings defensive hockey team. The Kings can play some defense, and they had parked the bus all series long. They're doing everything they can to prevent grade A shots, and they couldn't stop the Oilers from getting them. So this Oilers team was an offensive, like just a machine. It's a machine at this point of manufacturing grade A shots game after game after game
Hmm.
consistently. Enough grade A shots every game to score 4 goals a game, if
Right.
if not a little bit more than that.
I'd make the case, though, that they changed their strategy a little bit as the series went along, and they started taking more outside shots instead of trying to work the puck in close and get the traffic in front and fire the puck through. And they got a few goals from like 25 feet out, including basically, I'd say both of Costin's goals
Yeah,
tonight, Yamamoto's
yeah.
goal tonight. And, they were,
It's won the last game too, I recall.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And in Game 4, both Kane's tying goal and Hyman's game winner came from distance. And whether you can just say, well, the shooters started making their shots, or whether they found a weakness in the Kings and exploited it. Anyway, their production basically doubled for goals, which is, of course, the main thing we count in the last half of the series. So,
It certainly did. I can see that in the totals as well. So, one other thing I'd like to point out, Bruce, that even strength, the grade A shots were 73 to 56 for Edmonton. So Edmonton averaged 12.2 grade A shots per game at even strength, and the Kings had 9.3.
mhm.
So most of the Oilers' differential happened at even strength for grade A shots. And, it just speaks to the transformation of this team. This team used to get stomped regularly at even strength.
Yeah.
They are now an even strength juggernaut. And this is their power play. It's just out of this world good. Their even strength play is really strong as well. If they
Hmm.
can get some goaltending, and they can play if they determine them to play defense, If they all make up their minds, they're going to play defense like Leon made up his mind tonight and Darnell Nurse made up his mind tonight. They will go to the Stanley Cup final and they will win the Stanley Cup, Bruce, this year. Is what's going to happen if they continue to do that.
They're healthy enough. I have my
Yeah,
concerns on the health front again,
yeah, that's
but
always an
not
issue.
quite as serious as last year. But you mentioned Zach Hyman limping, and we
Yeah,
both mentioned Connor McDavid. You know, clearly not 100%, but like I say, some time off now. He had 3 days off before this game, and now hopefully another three. And then it's on to Las Vegas with no home ice advantage because they couldn't quite overtake them at that end of the season. Vegas just kept winning too, and they look pretty good against Winnipeg. Vegas did. Jack Eichel's playing well, man. Oh man, that guy's got a lot of skills, and he's faster than I realized. Is one of them.
so Bruce, in the end, what did you think of the Kings?
Uh, well, I thought they were better than last year in some important respects. I mean, they had some key players that they never had last year, and I mean, two of them are just guys that were hurt. Victor Arvidsson, I thought he had a tremendous series. Man, that guy brings it every night, every shift. He's
Yeah,
bringing it. He's skating
yeah,
hard, and he's tricky, and he's got a really hard shot. And he's not that big of a guy, but he just,
he's a hell of a player.
he's a heck of a player. And Doughty, of course, Sir Drew, he brings his own special uh, aura to the games. Tonight we
28
had
minutes.
tonight we had a nice situation where um, uh, Evander Kane got high sticked about 10 feet directly in front of referee Wes McCauley. And there was one replay angle where you could see the stick come up. You could hear the stick make contact with the helmet and shield of Kane. You could see Kane's helmet visibly move and the chin strap come up over his lip. And Wes McCauley, on this one angle, all you can see is the back of McCauley's head looking directly at the infraction and refusing to call it. And they had a face-off, and Kane was a little bemused with the lack of a call. He doesn't seem to get a lot of respect from the refs, and I'm sure there's a backstory there, but there shouldn't be. And then within like 5 seconds after the next face-off, there hadn't been a penalty all game. We're thinking, okay, they really have decided not to blow any whistles tonight. And Hyman takes a little run at Doughty along the boards, and maybe threw a chicken wing at him. I don't know. They did call it elbowing, but it was no more egregious than the obvious high stick on Kane that for whatever reason. But this was an attack on Sir Drew Doughty, so we better call it. And and they always had, when at one point the penalties were 3-1 and LA had scored 2 power play goals right in a row, and you're thinking, well, when we did that, we got a makeup call right away. But anyway, Doughty, to get back to the original point, Doughty had a strong series. He was he has an impact on every game that he plays. Right, he's a gamer, and he can be a bit of a weasel at times, and other times he can be fun to watch. Like he is sort of a balls to the wall kind of player, and so he's fun to watch that way. But I didn't like watching him take a run at Connor McDavid in Game 3. Fiala, that was hurt for the start of the season. I'm not sure we ever saw him at 100%. They probably pushed him in a little early, but he still had some impact. Like, they got a lot of good players there in LA.
Yeah.
I don't think their goalie was good for a while, and then he kind of lost the plot. And maybe that has as much to do with the increase in goal scoring as anything else. The Oilers got to him. And a couple of guys like Sean Dursey, that was so good last year, in the absence of Doughty, I didn't think he had a very strong series at all, and maybe took a bit of a step back.
He's a bit of a
this year.
whipping boy, Bruce, in Los Angeles. I noticed with their fans, he gets picked on quite a bit because I think it was Hyman's overtime goal went through Dursey's legs, and man, they were on him for that. Yeah, no, they're not. He's down in their luck. The player that I thought didn't come through. I know he got a lot of points this season in the series was Kopitar. He just didn't seem like a force to me.
Well,
Mikey Anderson he's a hell of a defenseman. I give him credit. Like I wish he was an Oiler. He's a good player. Kempe is obviously outstanding.
yeah,
Follows fast.
very dynamic. Yeah,
Fast, dynamic hockey player, good hockey player. This is a really good. Trevor Moore's good. Velarde's good. This is a really good team. It's a
Gavrikov's
better.
good.
Yeah, it's a better. Gavrikov is a solid defensive defenseman. So this is. They are going to have some trouble though
Mm-hmm.
with Kopitar. I mean, he is their top center, and he's getting. Doughty's still in his prime. Doughty is outstanding hockey player. He would be on Team Canada. But Kopitar didn't. I didn't get. There was not fear in me watching that guy play. I just didn't think. He was in on some plays, but I didn't think he was going to crush the Oilers. Like he was going to win games, be a game winner for that team. And so we'll see if Quinton Byfield can step up in coming years, or if they have other centers. I know they drafted Turcotte, Alex Turcotte, who
Alex
has
Turcotte, yeah.
not so far been a dominant player at the AHL level. So I think he was the 5th overall pick, that one, in a recent year. So they've got a lot of good wingers, though. Philip Deneau was good, but not great. He wasn't really that huge of a factor, I didn't think. And he was more of a factor last year. I thought Deneau was their best player probably last year, and not so much this time. He was good, but he wasn't the force that he was, like getting in, everyone's hair and aggravating everyone. So good team, but not as good as the Oilers. And we move on to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I thought the Oilers maybe should have won the series in 5 games.
That's what I
I
picked for
thought
this
LA
time.
was pretty fortunate in both of the games that they won.
Yeah,
And I'll give them credit that they deserved to win at least one game. They had some strong sequences and so on, but they had a few breaks go their way, and then the Oilers got some breaks go their way in the games that they won. But anyway, the Oilers were, I think, over the course of 6 games, clearly the better team, and that became more apparent as the series went along. More
and
depth,
this.
better depth.
Yeah, and this series, of course, had one of the great games in Oilers playoff history, the Game 4 comeback,
Mm-hmm.
down 3-0. It was
Mm-hmm.
a remarkable game, featuring Jack Campbell's performance, his Mike Palmateer performance in net, mandatory 1970 sports reference,
So
where he
three
was
good
kind of all over
things
the
each
place, but he
game.
kept that puck out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Bruce, let's leave it there. You got to write some game grades.
Yep,
So good luck with
I
that.
do. And then we'll prepare for Vegas Golden Knights in the days to come. Maybe we can do a podcast in between series. But
Yeah.
for tonight, I'm concentrating on the end of the Kings game. And I, for one, am happy to see the end of the Kings.
Me too.
Have a
They are a
seat. Have
tough
a
team.
seat, fellas. The Drama Kings, I call them at one point on Twitter for all the hijinks on the divery and so on that
Yeah.
was going on. But I respect them, and at the same time, they're one of those teams you really like to beat. Right? This is now
Yeah.
7 playoff series to 2 over the full history of the rivalry, and I think that we'll see these guys again in years to come because they're going to be contenders. But Oilers at this point have the upper hand on them.
Yeah. The Kings parked the bus all series, but in the end, the Oilers parked that bus right on top of them. All right, Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.